Hello YouTube. Calgary has had an absolute roller coaster of a year when it comes to the real estate market. We have set new records, but has it finally started to slow down? I'm going to highlight this exact thing in today's video. If you want to see the full report, please click the link in the description. All of the information provided in today's video is from the Calgary Real Estate Board. So let's go. Hi, my name's Fyfe and I'm a local realtor here in Calgary, Alberta. I try my absolute best to only provide value-driven content. If you're going to give me a few minutes of your day, you're going to get something out of it. For the 75% of you who have not subscribed, please consider checking out the channel as I upload every single week different videos about the Calgary real estate market and tourist attractions. Let's go. Now I'm going to start this off by reading this description. If you want to read it on your own, that's totally fine. Please pause the video and skip to the next chapter by scrolling along the timeline at the bottom of this video. Market starts to shift as sales slow. City of Calgary, July 4th, 2022. Sales activity in June eased relative to the past several months with 2,842 sales. Levels declined by 2% over last year's record high. While sales activity has remained relatively strong for June levels, the decline was driven by a pullback in detached and semi-detached home sales. As expected, higher interest rates are starting to have an impact on home sales. This is helping shift the market towards more balanced conditions and taking some pressure off prices. While we are starting to see some transition, it is important to note that in Calgary, year-to-date sales are still at record levels and prices are still far above expectations for the year. This pullback in sales was not met with the same level of pullback in new listings. This caused inventories to trend up over previous months. These shifts are supporting some easing from the exponentially tight conditions as the months of supply remain just shy of 2 months. While 2 months is still considered low for our market, it is a significant change over the 1 month of supply recorded earlier in the year. After 3 months of gradual gains in months of supply, prices eased slightly relative to last month. However, with the citywide benchmark price of $543,900, levels are still over 13% higher than last year. With further rate gains expected, we could continue to see slower sales activity and some monthly price growth slippage in the Calgary real estate market in the coming months. However, thanks to a renewed migration and job growth in a wide range of sectors, it is unlikely that we will see a full reversal of the price gains made so far this year. So let's start this thing off like usual by looking at the total residential sales and inventory in all of Calgary. Now, these graphs include all property types across the whole city. These graphs are useful when trying to look back at previous years to figure out where we stand historically, but I'm more interested in what has happened over the past few months, as this year has been absolutely crazy. So at first glance, you can see that this is quite a bit to digest. Now let's keep in mind that this is total residential, so all property types in all areas of Calgary. This is great to know what's happening on a macro level, but when it comes to your personal situation, you need to break it down into a micro level, individual property types, quadrants, and even communities to get a better local picture of what you're getting into. So let's check out what's going on with Calgary as a whole. Now this is a snapshot of every month's sales from January to July, both this year and last year. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'll give you a highlight. And the first thing that we can see is that June was the first month that the benchmark price actually fell, which is almost expected. Again, this is total residential numbers. Month over month, compared to this month to last month, detached benchmark price fell by 1,000, apartment increased by 2,000, semi-detached fell by $3,000, and row increased by $400. So with that being said, you can see that raising interest rates work. They can quickly shift people's perspective on what's going on and what's going to happen in our market. We had our first rate hike of 0.25% on March 1st, with the Bank of Canada hinting at more rate hikes in the future. On April 12th, we had our second rate hike of 0.5%, which is pretty evident on this chart. We had yet another 0.5% rate hike on May 31st, and the Bank of Canada is expected to make another decision on July 12th, and people are anticipating another rate hike. But I'm not a financial advisor or an economist, so make sure to conduct your own research. Next, let's take a peek at total sales, new listings, and inventory. You can see that sales peaked on March 31st with a steady decline ever since. New listings have continually fallen, and total inventory left over at the end of the month is steadily increasing as well. Luckily, new listings have slowed down with the decline in sales. If new listings were continually increasing while sales were decreasing, we have the potential of seeing bigger price decreases as the months of supply would increase and buyers would have a lot more options and potentially more leverage when negotiating. By looking at this and watching these types of things, you can start to take a guess at what's going to happen in the months to come. So that was a lot of information I just threw at you. If you want to break this down into more digestible content, please feel free to book a call with me and I will happily answer all of your questions. So moving forward, this graph will help us break down which property types in each quadrant are currently in demand. This will help showcase where all the additional inventory could be getting stuck. On average, over a quick glance, you can see that most property types are around that month and a half months of supply. That means if no more new listings were to come to the market and no more new buyers were to come to the market either, it would only take a month and a half for every single home to sell. Each color represents each quadrant, whereas the black is the total residential for that property type. Overall, detached has increased in supply. Overall, the apartments have gotten a little bit more competitive. Looks like overall the semi-detached has increased, and overall the row has slightly decreased. Take a moment and see which property type and quadrant you're interested in and see if it's gotten a little bit more or less competitive. Moving along, this is a fairly informative map of the 8 sections of Calgary. I've taken the time and virtually toured each quadrant of Calgary via Google Maps. It was my first attempt at trying something like this, and I plan on redoing it later into the year, possibly into the winter months. Now, this is total inventory and total residential benchmark price for each quadrant, so detached, semi-detached, townhouse, and apartments all in one. When looking at this, you can see that the year-over-year percentages are still pretty high. Looking back at the past few months, you can start to see a slowdown happening, but year-over-year, we're still seeing some double-digit price growth. It was about this time last year that we started to really see that shift towards that big increase in price. Here's another snapshot of total residential prices when compared to June of last year. As everyone knows, prices are up. If you're looking for a home in 2022, this information can be useful, but diving deeper into the area and property type is what will provide you with the most confidence and help create your buying strategy. Even though prices are up from last year, are you looking to jump into the market in the next 30 days or 120 days? That could make a very big difference in the way that you approach these stats. You can see from the blue arrows here that we are starting to see a slowdown, but how long is that going to last, if at all? Now, I'm not going to read this one out, but if you are interested in a certain property type, you can pause the video and read what the Calgary Real Estate Board has to say about each. It's important to get all the data before making any large real estate decision. Both buyers and sellers should utilize this data to their advantage. It is the key to their success, especially in a market like this. Are you a buyer who wants to hold off for the best possible deal, or are you a seller who may want to jump into the market and capitalize on these higher prices as they last? I cannot make predictions, but book a consultation if you are curious about what it may look like to be the best solution for you and your personal situation. My calendar link is below. Finally, the microeconomic outlook for each property type in each quadrant. Now, this type of information is useful when helping clients develop a better understanding of local activity. This, coupled with real-time comparative market analysis, is by far the most important thing that you could do when considering a purchase or even putting your home up for sale. The strategies consistently shift and change every single month. The things that I was advising clients 3 months ago are starting to look completely different now that the market is starting to shift. Finding a professional who is willing to take the time, break down the numbers, and work with you on your behalf is very important. These numbers can be used in many different ways. Calgary Real Estate is still going to be somewhat competitive this year. Take the time, do the research, and trust your advisor. Interview a couple if needed. I have uploaded both a seller's and buyer's guide for 2022, so feel free to check those out below as you may learn a thing or two. If you have any questions or you want to come up with a game plan, I'm only a call or text away. I hope you got some value from these updates, and please consider browsing the channel for other related content. I look forward to continue this trend all throughout the year. So until next time, peace.